Hey folks, Jonathan here. Okay, made it back on Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. It's sort of, I guess it's probably 4 o'clock now. I actually went back up to the show there in Carthage today and spent a little time. And anyway, so everything went good. No issues with the trailer at all. You know, I figured two 7,000 pound axles, 14,000. I really didn't want to go much, over that or try to keep under that actually, but the flywheel itself right here has already been weighed. That's the only piece that we know for sure what it weighs. It's 4,333 pounds. So we know what it is. And then we've got that engine, this engine, and then we've got another one on the other side. So we're going to start with this one. This is a Payne engine, very early. This is the same brand engine that Thomas Edison used when he was working with his generators, DC generators of course. So this is a really early piece. This one probably dated back to the early 1880s, possibly late 1870s. No, it's not missing a flywheel, believe it or not. I thought actually when I was looking at this thing initially that it would have had two, but this is got the governor and the flywheel, and it's actually got a chain on it, and we'll get farther into that. But this actually, I guess, would have had a belt pulley on one side. And I've got, I think, most of the parts for this. There might be a few things missing. I didn't buy this as a working, running engine. This was just bought as a project engine. But with it being really early like it is, and I don't know what the weight is, the flywheel's probably a 3-foot diameter, 36 inch, something like that. And I'll show you more of the valve on the other side. Okay, and this was actually made in New York. I want to say it was Corning, New York, maybe. It's actually written on it somewhere. But they moved, yeah. It might be, I think that's Corning is what that says. I'm not positive, but yeah, they actually moved in like 1883 to a different place. So that's sort of how we're dating this. And also with this really odd valve setup. So far, I don't know anybody that's seen this style. And we'll learn more about it, when we get into it and take it apart, and hopefully it'll, work out okay. I do have some of the timing parts and stuff, so we may be missing some stuff, but it's not a big issue. It's just nice to be able to get it and save it. So engine number 2, we'll go ahead and do this one. This is an Atlas. The flywheel, crankshaft, everything for it is there. I've got all the bearing pieces. I've got, I guess, pretty much everything for it. There shouldn't be anything missing on this engine. Now this, just like my Bates engine, has got an outboard bearing that sits on this side, and then the flywheel sits in the middle, and the crank's over on this side. Where this other engine, as you can see, is a center crank. It's in the center, so this one's offset. So this engine has got a 2.5 inch governor on it, so it's a pretty good sized engine. It's Indianapolis, Indiana. This one ran a sawmill, is my understanding, and this is plenty engine to actually run a sawmill, a circle mill, actually a big circle mill. And I'm not sure on the Bourne stroke. We'll try to figure out what it is. Haven't had a chance to even look at it. Now, my understanding was these two engines here were set up on a trailer with a boiler and taken to shows, so they did run, as far as I know. And so that brings us to our last engine, which I don't think, it may or may not be missing a flywheel on the other side, but it'll work fine with a belt pulley. Now, we're not trying to power anything in particular, but this, as my understanding, came from a tile factory. And I have a lot of the history of the tile factory. It's still in business, and they've got a lot of the early pictures. They really kept up with their history. And there might be a chance that there's a picture of this engine and that they may have in their historical stuff. So we're going to try and see if they do. Now, we know that this engine was sold by a company right here. Excuse the dents. This is just a copper sheet, so we'll just have to either hammer it out or replace it. Fort Wayne Oil and Supply in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I've come up with one engine that company sold that was actually made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So this could be that company, but as of right now, we don't know the maker. We've got a CCC on here. The only CCC I can find is like Cleveland, Columbus, and something else railroad. But I don't think that's it. Now this has got a kind of an oddball horizontal governor instead of a vertical, and I've got it. It's got a broken spot on it we'll have to fix, but it's a 2.5 inch. It's a leader, where our other one is a Pickering. And so this is pretty much a lot like our center crank Taylor Ironworks engine that was made by Schofield. Now if I was, you know, going to be in the field using this thing, I love this steel, but for what I want to do, you know, I would prefer to have it mounted on a permanent foundation, which you don't never know, and may end up leaving it that way, who knows. But anyway, this would work fine with a flat belt pulley on this side, and I may have a flat belt pulley. We'll have to see. I think this crankshaft's about, looks like it's about a 3 inch, maybe 3.5 inch, pretty good size. So this is not a small engine by any means either. 2.5 inch governor, would power, you know, a sawmill with no problem at all. Like I said, it was 10-hour drive up, 10-hour back, and of course, I would think that if it was 10 up, well, I guess it was 10 up and longer than that coming back because you got some weight on, but truck handled it fine. There was no problem there. Of course, you can definitely notice the fuel difference, the fuel mileage difference coming back. It wasn't nearly as good as going up. We, as you can see, put that into the crank up against the base here and put a board in there, strapped it, and then put this with some blocks. And we didn't have any issues with, you know, anything going anywhere, nothing like that, nothing moved. We had one chain that got a little bit loose one time. We tightened up, no problem. Just, I mean, it was pretty much a flawless trip, and I did get to meet a couple of subscribers. One met us over at John's where we went, and then I actually seen one at a restaurant, or a fast food joint, I guess, that night. And but the trailer held up well. I did put some small gussets in here, 1/4 inch plate. I did do that before I left because, you know, I didn't like it like that. My plans was to do that anyway. I just didn't want to get them too big that it was going to affect the truck, because I knew that this tongue was pretty short. You can see my space in here. No issues whatsoever. As you can see, you know, nowhere on the front of this trailer has it hit my truck, and I've been in every kind of position you can think of, up hills, down hills, across some pretty bad railroad tracks, stuff like that, loaded or unloaded, no issues. So yeah, it's close. No, it's not a problem. So I'm going to leave it just like it is. You know, if you know, something that was an issue, I could, you know, do some work on the hitch and do away with that, but I've got no problem with that. You can see where I had to put VIN numbers on it, serial numbers, had it inspected. Trailer's 100% legal, 100% ready to work. It's not smart to build a trailer, drive, you know, 600 miles before you've ever loaded anything on it. You know, I'm not saying that I would recommend anybody trying that. You're probably better off loading it up and then driving it around a little bit, making sure everything's going to be okay. But you know, I've built a lot of trailers, and, you know, fabricated a lot and changed a lot and worked on a lot of them over the years. So, you know, it's not my first rodeo. So, you know, I knew what I needed, and we got it done. And we did have, I guess the only issue that we did have, we've got the stuff sitting in the back. I bought some parts while I was there I needed and stuff. But anyway, so we got all the stuff in the back, and I was hauling this engine back for another guy. It's just a parts engine, a little Cushman Cub, and somehow, well, you can see the stuff slid some. Anyway, that engine come up and got my cable and locked me down crossways in the road while I was pulling out. So, which was no big issue, but I learned a good lesson, and I guess I should have moved that. But anyway, I think everything was fine. But it did tell me for sure that our breakaway works. And you know, these breakaways, they charge up as you drive, you know, as long as you wire them right anyway. So yeah, everything's good on that. So anyway, I like the engines. I'm tickled with them. The guy I dealt with up there is basically an engine dealer. He has a lot of stuff, a lot of hit and miss engines. I think I've actually found an exciter engine for my big generator, and I'm going to talk to Doozer Dan. Matter of fact, while I was doing this video, he called, and I've got to call him back, but we're going to talk about amps and voltage and DC and AC and all that good stuff that we need to talk about, which, you know, this is an AC generator, 3-phase, 250 kW, 317,000 watts, I think is what it is. And this is on my Harrisburg steam engine. And it requires a 125 volt, 100 amp exciter generator. And it's got to be a DC generator to excite the AC generator. So I've found two motors. One is 125 volt, 60 amp. The other is 125 volt, 80 amp. My understanding is, from talking to Dan so far, is I think we can use a little bit smaller motor. We just won't be able to generate as much power out of the AC unit, which is fine with me because, you know, that thing will do 50 houses. I don't need 50 houses. I just need Christmas lights from here to the mountains and back, but or over the mountain and back. I think that's what we had come up with. But anyway, that's the deal. This is the engines. If you want to guess the weight, because I'm going to weigh this thing in the morning, the truck, trailer, and everything before I unload. You can see these 12-ply tires have got some bulge in them where they that load is on it. So we're not going to leave it set long enough to hurt anything, but that's a pretty good load. Now, we did put quite a bit of stuff toward the back of the trailer and then just offset it with that. Now, I sort of didn't design this load this way. This is the way that John up there in Holgate, Ohio loaded this. Now, he's got way more experience hauling on these trailers than I have. You know, he's an engine dealer, and he's loaded and unloaded and hauled for years, so he knew more than I knew, so I sort of just let him handle it. You know, I wouldn't have put it as far back. He did, but no problem. It actually worked out really well. You know, I actually had some space there. I could have put more stuff, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think I could have handled the weight. You know, it feels heavy. Of course, I'm not a I've had goosenecks before, don't get me wrong. I'm just not experienced in gooseneck trailers like I am in flat trucks and, you know, bumper pull trailers as much as I am a gooseneck. So it's hard for me to judge the weight, but I just think that it's a pretty heavy load. But there's a sand pit next to us, and we can call them in the morning and run up there, and I'm sure they'll let us weigh it, or they'll weigh it for us, and we'll figure it out. So we're going to, I'm thinking about, so I got a mess here, excuse it, but our boiler here, our engine here, and then I'm moving all this on this side and putting the Harrisburg engine. We may put the 3 stationaries in front of this boiler here and build a roof over top of it. And I want to build the roof on top of the boiler also, and that'll keep the pine straw and stuff off the boiler, to where that pine straw is, believe it or not, pretty corrosive. So when that pine straw gets on something, it discolors it, makes the paint go away quicker and start rust. But the good thing about the boiler, you know, we've got no plans to use that in any means, so we can clean that thing up and throw another coat of paint on it at any time. I mean, you know, it's not a big issue. But like I said, the kids love it. It's got all them tubes down it. If you talk at this end, it comes out at this end. So if you got a little kid here and you say something at one end and your voice comes out at the other, they really get excited. You know, it's pretty weird. And then of course they run over there and start yelling down it and all that good stuff. But pretty neat. Kids love it, and I like kids. So anyway, we'll get at it, and in the morning we'll get these weighed and get them unloaded. Anyway, here we go. More fun. All right, till next time. Bye.